Shoot, you hear the gossip today? Everybody's out talking crap. It's like the internet. Should have brought some birdseed. Anywho, hey, talk about how a big business isn't as good as a small business. And I'm not going to say small, I'm going to say like right above small, right before medium, where you have employees, but you ain't some huge conglomerate, you know? Everybody wants to be the biggest and the bestest, but I'll tell you the best profits, the best maneuverability comes from being something that is smaller with really key characters in that organization. Key characters that are bringing in large sums and invested into the company itself. That when the company is making money, they're also making money. You'll see the most production, greatest profits, highest efficiency. When your business is really big, it's very hard to change things on the turn of a dime, especially in this day and age where people in Congress and people in government can quickly change what the economy is doing and how consumers are buying. When the economy is unsure, you don't want a lot of components. You want key components. You don't want to sell more products. You want to have good, small selling products, high volume, high profit. I'm not just saying sell only high profits, sell things that the consumer would want and that the consumer needs. Now, I know I keep talking about this one store, the Costco, but I had nothing. I don't know anything about all this stuff that's coming out about them or whatever. I would have never known by going into the store. What I like is the efficiency. I like how they run their business, and I like how they created themselves a cult following from their customers, very loyal customers. What I like about Costco is that they worry about selling less products and moving their volume really quickly, right? They give their customers really good deals that make them keep coming back. They're willing to lose a little bit on a product instead of, making a whole bunch off of everything. They're willing to lose to bring somebody in. And all the great companies do this. Anyway, they're very large, but they have taken all of the fat away from their business to make it grow and run really well and really efficiently. So I guess you can run a big company, but you have to run it very efficiently. You have to cut all that fat down. You have to not worry so much about growing as using what you have and creating a firm foundation. So sometimes it does work having a really big business, and you can pivot, or you don't have to pivot that fast when you've already trimmed all the fat and you've already picked the best products and you've already created a really strong, loyal customer base, giving them exactly what they want and need. That being said, when there's economic issues and economic turmoil, you want to have a company that is smaller. Why? Because you can twist on a dime. You can move and change everything that you do really quickly. Let me give you a personal illustration. We had a restaurant and food trucks during that thing a few years ago. It changed everything. And what we realized is that the customers were not willing to come in. They were willing to order out at really random times, and it wasn't the same volume that it was before. So what did we do? Well, we saw that people were really buying stuff. They were buying online. They were buying at Marketplace. They were buying and buying. So we managed to get some pallet shelving from a Bed Bath & Beyond that shut down at the same time. We filled our back room completely full, and then we bought a 52-foot trailer of liquidation from Target and started flipping. And you know what? That worked out really good. We got our feet wet even more than we already had in e-commerce and whatnot. So that was a really weird flip because we were like cooking in the front and selling out the back. It was just strange, but hey, you got to have that maneuverability, especially when you're not in charge of your own fate anymore. When they talk about free market and a free country, you got free ideas. But a lot of that is starting to get taken away, and it's really important to be aware of that and be on your toes. So, back to having a good team. You got to have a good team in charge of each of your areas and give them really good wages for that and benefits from doing that. I don't like the system where it's only a wage. I think there always should be incentive. I back in long time ago was an order selector at Cisco, right? Filling trucks overnight. I made really good money for being 19 and 20 years old. They gave us an incentive package, and I already had a pretty good wage. I got the incentive package every time, and what you had to pick everything right. And when you picked something that was not right, it moved everything back. But since I was young and I picked so fast and so hard, and my roommate did the also thing that it didn't matter if I messed up. I was making the computer on stupid mode where it didn't understand. Like there was just so many packages being picked. There were so many orders being picked so fast that it just eliminated all of that. Now I'm not saying that that was a perfect idea, but that incentive, man, my supervisors love me because if somebody was lagging, actually if two people were lagging, I picked up that slack and I picked up my own slack. So there's one thing on standing out. You always have job security. When you're small and grow as you go, it's really easy to see where that fat is because there's not a whole lot there. You're running on pretty, just sticks. You're running, you don't have much to the organization. So it's really easy to see where the issues are. And it's really wise sometimes to even step back or get another point of view in there. That's why people that come into companies and just observe make so much money because they can see things that other people can't that are within the organization. So get new eyes too. And if you want to look at our government is really big for the size of our company. I mean, most Western countries are. That's how that works. It's really inefficient though, because when you try to get something done, everybody's got their own idea and everybody's running one way or the other. It's really important to know who's in charge of what and not micromanage that. If they're not good enough for that job, they need to be moved. They need to kick rocks. Small, medium. Also, you really don't have to run on a lot of debt usually to get it started, to start out. That's great because debt really just holds you. It makes it really hard to pivot. It really draws you down. So if you can stay out of debt and stay away from debt, I would say that because when our company had no debt and we were just bringing in profits, it was gangbusters and it was just so much work, so much to do, so money coming in at a lot of different angles. No worries, no worries. Usually, when you're smaller too, you can secure real estate. When we went into our building, we did not do that, but we didn't have plans for the whole thing that happened a few years ago. But it's always wise when you can to own the real estate that your business is in, whether that be a home based business or whatever. It's really wise if you're small to own that. I do not fully understand why a lot of businesses choose to rent when they can choose to buy, but it is what it is. I look at Walmart itself. Walmart always buy the land and the land around it. Menards is does that too. I don't know if you have an area, but they had a Shopko next to them, and then that Shopko left, and now they turned it into storage, and now they're selling pad sites all around. So it's really wise to start, you know, if you're starting out small, to own what you got. Start it at home and move it on up. When you start with no debt too, you start accumulating assets really quickly. It is amazing how many assets when we liquidated our business that we had and I didn't even know. We even were able to take some of the trucks that were sitting and throw equipment in them and sell them then as food trucks. And it really turned out really good for us. When it's really small, sometimes you spend a whole lot of time talking to the customer individually, which actually takes a whole lot of energy, mental and physical energy to do that. But at the same time, starting there, you really get to deeply understand the customer and you can grow really fast. So that's can be a benefit. It's also sometimes really hard. And I don't fully think the customers understand that, but that when they're talking to you, they're thinking they're talking to just you yourself, but they don't understand you've already had this conversation 3 or 4 times already this day, and 3 or 4 times yesterday. So the mental and physical energy that it takes when you're small like that from individually dealing with customers is a little bit much, but being so big that you do not understand and do not have that one-on-oneness, even if it's not a one-on-oneness with your customer, is a negative if you're that big and you don't no longer understand your customer. And I think a lot of companies in the United States have kind of grabbed onto that and they don't fully understand their customer. Like, for instance, the truck companies, they're selling junk and it's expensive. It is expensive. It looks cool, but looks can be deceiving. Well, these were a lot of my personal experiences, and there was no notes on this one, so I hope this stuff helps. And this is real stuff that I've learned myself. So I hope that helps. Thank you. God bless.